And she is here today to talk with us about the concept that I saw posted on your page, and I absolutely loved it. And you were talking about being gardeners of our future. Can you, just for the audience, as we go into this Friday and into this weekend, what did you mean by the concept of being gardeners for our future, and how do we as gardeners for our future actually tend to this garden in meaningful ways?
Ah, gosh, yeah. Um, that is so funny. Yeah, I just liked the virtual background. You can create these with Zoom, right? But
Yeah.
I am a green thumb. I have a big old two green thumbs, and I've been thinking a lot about the intentionality that we bring to what we have around us. And what you attend to grows, what you give your mind energy, attention to, what you talk about a lot is what will be around you.
Mm,
And so when I think about our gardens and ourselves, as thinking about ourselves as cultivating that garden, like, what do you want to see around you? What do you want to be around you? And do that. So that's the very basic, the high level premise of that idea. And I would say, as you talked about, as we're going into our weekend, because we do a lot of scrolling and binging and all the things. And I'm not coming down on anybody's choices. If that's what you do, if that's what you like, you do what you do. Um, but I'd ask you to be mindful and thoughtful about how you feel once you've done what you've done. So,
mm.
yeah, sometimes, and I can be the worst of it, to be quite honest, Lurie. I love politics and I love getting in. It's one of the reasons why I love your show. I
Thank you.
do. I do. But I can be a little bit of a nut about it. And sometimes it's like, okay,
Same.
enough sugar today, when you've eaten too much of something it's sweet, it's nice, but maybe too much of it is not good for you. The same is true for some of these other things. And so um just being mindful of what you have in and or around you and being
Mm,
intentional about how you engage that, I think is really important for your mental health. But to be quite honest, very important for each of us to be an active and dedicated participant in our liberation,
mm.
because it's all connected. It's all connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That part that you mentioned where the things that you enjoy that you want to see around you, if you give your attention to those things, that is what will grow around you. And I think
Mm-hmm.
of it that way, as attention is one of the seeds that we can plant in this garden, right?
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and by seed, in terms of attention, if I want more joy in my life, if I'm following your theory correctly,
Mm.
if I want more joy in my life, I should be paying attention to the things that bring me joy. If I want more peace in my life, I should be paying attention to and trying to put myself in environments that are
Yeah.
going to cause me peace. Is the mere act of planting the seed of attention to the things that I want one of the ways that I can begin planting in this garden of my own life, so that that is one of the things that I'm harvesting?
I would just play with the metaphor a little bit. I would say attention is the water or the sun. It is what will
Oh.
grow it. What are the things? For me,
Mm.
one of my things is that I am a green thumb. I love nature. I love growing it in the house, but to be quite honest, I like to be in nature. I'm one of those black girls who hike and goes on trails and gets lost and then gets found with a GPS so that I can be found if anything go wrong, right? But I like to be out there. It actually is so restorative. I So that would be something. I would say one of my more recent things is I've been doing weight training and lifting weight, like getting fit and getting strong,
Nice.
right? But I also do like reality TV. I like a little ratchet. So I have to balance, like, how much of that are you doing? Because you could spend a whole lot of time doing that. And how do you feel after
Mm.
all of that, right? So maybe you have a little bit and it's fun and it's mindless, but how long should you be mindless? And so what you
Mm.
water, sometimes, what you give your attention to is sort of growing that, is watering that, or is giving it the sun that it needs so that it can engage its natural processes of photosynthesis. Because we are beings that can grow a thing. It just depends on
Mm.
what we're going to grow. You can grow positive things and things that are nurturing and nutritive for you, or you can grow things that are cancerous for you.
Mm. I've been thinking about this in terms of the thoughts that we think. Like I've been
Yeah.
studying a lot of teachers who are talking about the
Hmm.
fact that our thoughts are things,
They
and that
are.
our thoughts in and of themselves are also manifestations. Like we often
Hmm.
tend to think about a manifestation as something that we desire that then shows up in our lived experience.
Hmm.
But some of the folks that I've been studying talk about the fact that your thoughts are also a form of manifestation. And
Hmm.
if you are thinking about it that way, if we're going back to this planting metaphor, if I am
Yes.
planting within my own mind thoughts of harm, thoughts of distress, thoughts of worry,
Hmm.
not to say that you're never going to have reason to be, worried or concerned or distressed,
For
but
sure.
if
For
the
sure.
yeah, especially in
Right.
this world. But
Right.
if the only thoughts that I choose to entertain are the thoughts that cause worry and tension and stress. And then I say entertain, guys, because I've talked about this before. A thought can enter your head. You can't necessarily prevent a thought from entering into your consciousness,
Mm.
but you don't have to dance with it all day long. It could
That's
be
right.
like that old example of the dance card. Oh, this you want to be a dance partner? I don't think I got room for you on my dance card today. I'm
Right.
clear that you
Right.
asked to dance, but
Yes.
my dance card is full. But
It's
if we're
full.
choosing to entertain thoughts that reaffirm stress and worry,
Hmm.
then is it that we will grow in our lived experience examples of things that resonate with that feeling of stress and
I
worry?
think you're drawn to it, you know. I think you're bringing up an important construct for me that I like to talk about, which is the curation, right? The
Mm,
be a little bit of
mm,
a museum docent or director, or someone who's carefully appointing things. Well, what are you bringing in? And we bring in patterns of behavior, we bring in people and practices, things that we do
mm.
repetitively, patterns of
Yes.
behavior, people, and practices. Boiling it all down to behaviors, thoughts, and actions. Behaviors, thoughts, and actions. So, what are you doing? Are you making a choice? Are you being choiceful in what you are bringing in and around you, what you
Mm.
are engaging in, and who you are engaging with? Because it may not be your negative thoughts that you are dancing with. You may, in fact, be
Ooh.
dancing with somebody else's negative thoughts. It's really important to think about, and it could be someone in your relationship with you, but it could be someone that you follow on YouTube, or someone that you follow in a
Mm.
podcast or other type of media format, because there's so much that's available, which is both wonderful for the democratization, but is also kind of hard because we don't have a filter for the information that's not so good or not so useful or even truthful. And so really being mindful about how you make choices, and that you do make a choice even by not choosing, by allowing the that sort of constant rotation of just different things to pile on to you through an algorithm. You're
Mm.
making a choice to be mindless, and you're then making choices for how you're going to feel after that too, depending on what type of
Wow.
material is coming through to you.
Wow. When you said, are you responding to someone else's thoughts or comments
Yeah.
or beliefs? And it reminded me that there was this point where farmers, to stick with this
Hmm.
growing analogy,
Yes,
if
I
they
think
had
it's a great
purchased,
one.
it
Yeah.
really is, if they had purchased seed from a particular corporation, they were only
I know where
allowed
you're
to grow
going.
this. Hmm. They
Hmm.
were only allowed to grow seed from that corporation. And sometimes the
Hmm.
corporation would send people out to check to see if the
Yes.
farmers had grown seed from some other place. And if
Hmm.
a neighboring farmer had crops that were grown that were not from that corporation, and the pollen just, nature being nature, the pollen
That's
blew into
right.
the next
That's
door,
right.
you might,
Yes.
if you're testing corn or whatever it is on that border, you might have seed that came from somebody else and it grew and
Mm.
harvested because you weren't paying
Yeah.
attention, and then you get messed up with that corporation. The corporation's terrible. I'm not going to mention the name,
No, I
but
know exactly where you're going. And the idea of being able to control or colonize life like that is what's obscene. And also we know what has happened when you don't diversify your thoughts and diversify the types of seeds, if we go with this metaphor of the growth, that can grow with and or around you, so that you have multiple perspectives to choose from, to learn from, that you are challenged, push, and also
mm,
reinforced by what, the values that you have reinforced. Then your land or what you are growing can grow too dependent on the one thing that you focused on, so that when you fall short of having good nutritive things there, you may not have anything that you can believe in at all. And we're witnessing that happen, for a lot of
wow,
people who have had certain thoughts for a long time in only one direction, and they're having to question what they have been believing in. You
wow.
like that, don't you?
I do a lot because
It's
man, what is
real.
that phrase? People can't live by bread alone. If you only
You
grow on
can't.
one crop and
No,
you ain't,
no.
and
Yeah.
Okay, let me take you
Oh,
another
are you
step further.
okay?
Here
Okay.
we go. You ready? You ready? You ready?
I'm
If
so
you
ready.
grow the
Yes.
same type of crop year after year after year, and you don't rotate your crops, you
Yeah.
don't neutralize or care for and
Mm.
fertilize your soil, then your soil will go sterile. It will become
It
infertile.
will. It will. You may
Child.
need to engage equitably with how you engage this. Have diversity of the types of crops you grow and include multiple and different types because they do belong there in order for you to continue to grow and prosper.
Mm,
You like
child.
that?
Oh my
Yes,
Lord.
and that's
I like that.
that is true because you cannot live by bread alone. You need actually other ingredients to make the bread. You can't actually have bread with
Mm.
just the wheat. That's not bread. That's wheat.
Mm. That's sweet. And you don't even like wheat flakes. So
Well,
take that.
I'm gluten free, so I can't even have it. But the idea is right. So yeah, it really. I love them. We could probably beat this metaphor to the ground, but there is certainly a lot there, don't you think?
Where it would die and re-fertilize and cycle into the soil, but a bump. Ooh, y'all know I love a corny joke. I do.
We never talk about the mom jokes, but they're also quite corny. I think so.
Yes. I love a good mom joke. I do. You in the post that you had shared
Hmm.
on your Instagram page, which for all of you who are wondering is Dr. Wendi with an I Williams, DRWENDI Williams. You talk about a variety of different types of seeds. We've been sort of focusing more on the seeds of the thoughts that we think, but you also talk
Hmm.
about some other sorts of seeds that we plant in the gardens of our future, which include the people, the
Hmm.
thoughts that we think. Of course, we've talked about that, the
Yeah.
places, the habits, and you say they don't just fill your life, they shape it and they multiply. So ask
Yeah.
yourself, do I want more of what surrounds me right now? Is this the garden I want to grow in? Can you help us unpack that a bit?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I think we probably as adults can see this really clearly when we're thinking about the rearing of our adolescents.
Mm,
Yeah. We probably, for those of us, I have adolescents in my life who, we are all curating and supporting and also supporting their autonomy and all the things, but we want them to be very wise and mindful around their decision making, right? We are trying to, as the adults in their lives, help them hone their picker, not only for romantic
mm,
relationships, but who is in your friend group, who is around you, who do you allow yourself around. These
yeah.
really are choices when you're and they're choices that we need to be intentional about. So when we have young people and they're garnering that initial independence 14, 15, 16, 17 before they hopefully they can fly the coop and have some independent experiences, we need to help them to shape those experiences because we know that they could get caught up in something that's not meant for them, depending on who they're
Mm,
around. And even it may be a nice young person down the street or over on the other side of town, but the neighborhood that they're in or the family and the company that they keep may actually put our young one at risk. And so we have to help them make choices. Well, maybe y'all come over here or we'll support y'all in having a good time. You don't have to do it over at their house. And we're not judging so and so.
mm,
We just make sure you're safe and that they're safe too, that kind of thing. And so I
yeah.
think the same for us as an adult and as adults. And I believe that, again, with the media environment that we are in, it actually has a much more outsized role than our outside in real person um, analog life now. And so we really have to be conscientious about what we are putting into our little noggins. I think that we have
Mm,
to really, because we are influenced. One of the things that I think we can appreciate with our current environment, especially in the ways in which folks in this particular country, because what we were able to see through our elections was, just a snapshot, a litmus test of how we are differently influenced and to what end. And
yeah.
so what we know is that we are all very um, impressionable. They're
Yeah.
all very impressionable. It's not just young people. I guess is why I start with adolescents. Not just them. We are too. If you see enough of something, if you experience enough of something, it will be true. And our science backs this. Our psychological science
Yep.
backs just this framework. And so when people talk about manifestation and, having positive thoughts, the idea or negative thoughts that it can create that the idea is that what you think about a lot, you actually do and can create those conditions around you just because that's what you're drawn to. And so you're therefore drawn to more of that, more of the situations and or decisions in the outside world that then start to hone in and narrow you into direct you toward a focus that is what you were initially imagining. That's why your thoughts are power. And so when we're thinking about um, who we're listening to, what we're talking about, um, and also what we're then doing in the world, there is this relationship between first it's a thought, but it actually then can end out in the world, into the material world through our actions to become a thing. And that is because of the ways in which we are impressed upon or
Yes.
influenced. It is why this influencer market is so critically important for our media environment right now, and why there are billions of dollars in that particular side of the economy. And
Wow.
it is one that has grown from just particular celebrity or high profile individuals to any profile individual with a particular amount of attention. There goes that water again, that they have been able to
Mm.
garner in terms of their followers or their following, can then influence,
Wow.
i.e., impress upon many people to think, behave, and do a number of things, typically buy something, which is why they are supported by big business and marketers and companies.
Yeah. I've heard a phrase that came to mind as I was listening to you talk, and the phrase was, you get what you think about most of the time.
That's
Like
right.
you get what you think about most of the time. And guys, this is one of the reasons why I want us to not be lazy thinkers and
That's right.
lazy feelers. I
Thank
want
you.
us to be discriminating about
Mm-hmm.
the thoughts that we entertain. I want us to be
Mm-hmm.
discriminating about the emotions we choose to sit in. You're going to feel any host of emotions in
That's
response
right.
to a whole host of things, circumstances, thoughts, life, so on and so forth. But we
Mm-hmm.
can be discriminating about which
Mm-hmm.
thoughts and emotions we choose to sit in. And I think that's so important, because if it's true that we get what we think about most of the time, let's move from the place of just individual
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
framing of this and think about what that means for us as a collective. If you are
That's
constantly
right.
thinking thoughts of, we ain't never gonna get, and we can't
Mm-hmm.
never,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't never, and I wish
Mm-hmm.
we could, we can't never know, and we have these sort of very culturally shaped and
Yes.
societally nurtured. So we ain't the only ones nurturing these gardens that we in.
Mm-hmm.
Society's got an idea about what the garden should look like. The people in
Mm-hmm.
power have an idea about what your garden should look like. And by garden, I mean your future, the life that you're living.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have been conditioned by the society that you are in to hold your community, for example, in negative vibrational thought power, if you have
Yes.
been conditioned to see nothing but negativity when you look at your reflection out in the world, well, then
Mm-hmm.
you are going to, if you get what you think about most of the time, you are going to
Mm-hmm.
get experiences with those people who are a part of
Right.
your community that reflect the very negative approach that you have been conditioned to see them in, because you
Mm-hmm.
planted garbage in the garden of community relations. So you're going to run into trash ass people. And this is not to say that there are not trash ass people in the garden. There's weeds all over the place. But every
Right.
weed is a plant. It's not to say that it's less valuable. It just may not be valuable for the garden you are trying to grow. I got
Mm-hmm.
these what you call them, purple plant I got these lavender plants in the front. Oh, Wendy,
Yes.
you would be very proud of my garden. You really would.
Ah,
But
share
it's mainly
photos.
because of my mama, because my mama live here and she's the one with the green thumb. I've got a green pinky. That was sorry.
Just
I
keep
just
going. Just
realized that
keep
is going
going.
to
Just
mean
keep going.
something different. Kim,
Just
we're
keep
moving
going.
on.
Just
I
keep
have a
going. Just keep
red
going.
pinky. It is not fucking A.
Oh, yeah, you do need to keep going. You need
I
to
was
keep
going
going
from thumbs
fast.
as the power finger and then
Under the
pinkies as the weak finger. But then, all right. So my mama has a green thumb. I am trying to get a green thumb. If you know, you know. If that flew over your head or under your radar, just let it go. Shout out to the sorrow.
You're so
But we
funny.
have these lavender plants that we are trying to grow.
Mm,
My inbox
mm,
is about to be off the chain. We have these lavender plants that we are growing, and I've noticed that there is this different sort of weed that has taken place, and it lines
mm-hmm,
the pathway of our house. There's a different
mm-hmm.
sort of weed, and it's a very smart weed, because as I
Okay.
was trying to pull it out, I was like, oh, you're not just here. You have interwoven yourself
Mm-hmm,
in almost
mm-hmm,
like a snake type of thing. And so as we were
mm,
pulling it out, I was like, you are an amazing, beautiful plant in and of yourself. I just can't have you here because you're disrupting my vision for this
mm-hmm,
garden.
mm-hmm,
And so it's not
mm-hmm.
to say that the trash ass people in the community should not be in the community. They just are for somebody else's garden right now. But if
Yeah,
you're only
yeah.
trained to see your community in with the worst light, then that is what you will experience, and that is what will
Mm-hmm,
be reaffirmed for you. And the
mm-hmm,
opposite is also true. If we can hold thoughts of joy and gratitude and love and positivity and see the potential in our community, then we
mm-hmm.
will draw that out into our collective experience experience as well. And I feel like we're going to need to lean into that a bit.
Mm,
Yeah.
I'm having a thought. I don't know if I have time to share it.
We got 3 minutes, so if you can make it a quick one, we can
You
make
have
it
to
work.
make sure you're a good plant that can be in somebody else's garden.
Ooh.
You can either grow into a rose or a weed. So, what are you
Ooh.
cultivating? Because you're a part of our community. And so you have to do that work that supports you in being a contributor to the beauty of the garden. And we're not wanting to
Wow.
remove you or kick you out, but we do want you to attend to that internal first because you're a part of this. We want you to
Wow.
floor, to bloom as well, or to, to do whatever it is your highest expression is as well. So with
Mm.
that, being really mindful of that as well.
Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
because it's oftentimes we forget that we are a part of the garden we're trying to grow, and that we exist in someone else's garden as well. That's
Hello.
powerful.
That
That
is.
is powerful. I love you. I'm always
Uh,
glad when you get to come on and give us
me
some good
too.
wisdom. And that's the sort of energy we need to carry into this week as I go find some
Yes.
red nail polish to paint all my nails red.
You just get like one of those Beyonce gloves that is
Yeah,
just
just get a red
on your
glove
whole arm,
in the
and then
garden. Red
you'll get
garden gloves
forgiveness. You'll get good. You'll get forgiveness.
and lots of grace, lots of grace.